the Public Service Center. And I will also be a monitor for today's webinar session. The purpose of this gap year webinar is to help provide resources and information to people considering taking a gap year of service after graduation. I know a lot of our peers have maybe lost internships or jobs due to the current pandemic, and I know it's a really stressful and confusing time, so we thought it would be smart to tell people different alternative paths and opportunities that are out there and available. But also, even before this, I know people who have been interested in a gap year and want to just learn more. It's something that people do whenever, not just during a pandemic, so it's a good use of time and a way to develop a pathway into a career. So we just wanted to be able to give everyone the opportunity to consider different service options. We hope that this is helpful in providing more information about the types of gap year opportunities and services that are offered, while also providing real life experiences and stories from people who have had good gap year experiences and gap year programs. I would like to provide a brief introduction for our guest speakers today. We are very excited and thankful that they were able to join us. Today we have Emily Conwell, who is Program Manager for the Promise Fellowship for Americorps. We have Jonas Kane, who is the Director of Programs for Service Year Alliance. We have Marcus Boatwright, who is the Regional Recruitment Manager for City Year. And we have Josh Goldstein, who is an alum from 2017. So now our speakers will be giving an introduction to their programs and their experiences. During the time that the speakers will be talking, everyone should feel free to use the Q&A feature at the bottom where the chat usually is to ask questions. Please feel free to ask questions throughout. We will be answering them after all of the presentations are done. So feel free to ask any question to anyone in specific at any time, and we will be answering them afterwards. So we will now begin with the presentation, starting with Emily Conwell.
Yeah, thanks so much, Samantha, for the introduction. Hi, everyone. My name is Emily Conwell. My pronouns are she, her, hers. I'm currently in Boston, Massachusetts. I'm a program manager with the Mass Promise Fellowship, like was mentioned, and I'm actually also a two-year Americorps alum. I did City Year Boston, and then I did a smaller program called Social Capital, Inc. So I'm a really big fan of a year of service. I think that it's been really helpful for me in my life personally, as well as the benefits that kind of your program can do more broadly. So I don't have a sort of like presentation or slide deck. I'm, a fan of, I think just storytelling can be really impactful. So I wanted to just share a little bit about like my experience in my program. I did Americorps very intentionally. When I graduated, I was a psych major. I didn't understand how college worked. I didn't realize that I was even allowed to change my major. So I was just like not ready to go out into the real world and have this like quote unquote real job. I was terrified of this prospect of being a responsible adult. And I wanted a way to gain more skills that I felt were going to be really applicable to the job market without that pressure of just being like thrown into the rest of my life having a career. So that was why I felt like it was really like important and a great idea for me to do Americorps, because it gave me lots of varied opportunities to like learn new skills, whether it was doing admin in an office to doing like direct service with youth in these communities that I was really passionate about connecting with. So it was really great, and it helped completely shape like where I am today, and kind of fueling my passion to continue doing youth work as I move forward with the rest of my life. So my program specifically is called the Massachusetts Promise Fellowship. We are 21 years old, going on 22, and the program was started specifically out of the recognition of the necessity of addressing the opportunity gap, the achievement gap that particularly impacts low-income youth, and particularly low-income youth of color. And so the promise in our name, the Promise Fellowship, comes from this idea that there are 5 things that youth need to succeed. So it's a healthy start, a caring adult, a safe place, an effective education, and an opportunity to serve with their community. So we use those 5 promises in the basis of our programming and the work that we try to do to support our youth in this idea that we want to close the opportunity gap. Our program has shifted and changes over the years. I think as all, programs or nonprofits do. So we focus very heavily on specifically academic enrichment for middle school students, and then college and career readiness for, exploration, for high school students, because again, it's really important to us to acknowledge that not all students want to go to college, or college is not necessarily the best fit for everyone. So also figuring out, if you're not going to go to college, what are those career aspects that could work for you? So my job is to support the fellows. The people who join our program to really go out and serve in these communities, to really directly engage with these youth and have a positive impact, and support them in their professional development journey as they continue to grow beyond our program. And also as they're doing that on the ground work, building these relationships and supporting this youth, because it's so important. It is so vital to the economic and physical, mental, and emotional futures of these communities and of these youth as individuals. At the same time, it's a very challenging job for the youth workers who are going in these communities and carrying these burdens of building these relationships and trying to make this change. So I think that it's a great opportunity to grow and challenge yourself, figure out how you want to particularly engage with young people, because some people are like, I really love youth, but I don't want to be a teacher. So where do I fit in that space? And that's where this kind of nonprofit youth work area comes in. And so as an Americorps program, we offer the opportunity, you can have this 11 months to have really tailored mentorship, coaching, and support from us as the Mass Promise Fellowship staff. And then also have this opportunity to do on the ground direct service work with youth who really need your help. So I think I'm a little biased, but I think it's a pretty great spot to be in.
Okay, thank you so much, Emily. Jonas, if you wouldn't mind sharing next.
Sure thing, and I will share my screen for my portion. Hi everyone, really happy to get to be on to talk with you all today. My name is Jonas Kane. I'm the Director of Programs at Service Year Alliance. We are a nonprofit organization that works to make a year of paid full-time service a common expectation and opportunity for all young Americans, whether it's something done after high school, after college, or early in the career, potentially as a change of path. The one thing I'll also say up front, unlike the two folks that I'm speaking in between, we at Service Year Alliance do not directly host a fellowship, so there's nothing that I'm really going to be trying to recruit you directly into. But we do host a platform, serviceyear.org, that features different types of service year opportunities across the country. Mass Promise Fellowship and City Year are actually two great options that we feature on the platform, and ones that I would definitely encourage you to check out more. I would also say I'm an alum of City Year Philadelphia, as well as Teach for America Baltimore. And having spent time in education early in my career, and having spent the past half decade working in the nonprofit sector, I still consider the career skills and the experiences I've had from my own service year experiences to be some of the most valuable things that I end up using on a day-to-day basis in my work today. High level, some of the reasons I think you should also just consider doing a service year more generally. We're talking about the idea of doing a gap year during this webinar. You can really think of doing a service year as being a gap year with a purpose. It's something that allows you to make a measurable impact in a variety of different spaces, whether you go into an education-based program. There's programs out there that focus on the environment, disaster response. You can do service years in schools, at local nonprofits, at government agencies. There's a bunch of different ways that you can really make a lasting, meaningful difference within communities. Right now, we're even seeing how a lot of programs across the country are adapting in the face of COVID-19, both to help with immediate response efforts that are going on in communities, from food distribution to other things in need. And they're going to be a really valuable part of the long-term response as communities look at how they're going to be rebuilding in the aftermath. And alongside making that difference, really they are a great chance to get to do something that's going to help you develop skills when you're going into whatever those next steps might be. And a lot of opportunities, much more so than a lot of traditional entry-level jobs, you get to take on experiences, leadership opportunities and really get to lead different efforts that are going to help you be prepared when you eventually go into the workforce afterwards. And most importantly, I'd say it's not a gap year where you're not being supported. You're not going to make a ton of money while doing your service year, but you do receive compensation, training, support, things that actually make it accessible to do, where you're not going to be losing money during the year as well. And then I would also say, just from personal experience, I found one of the most beneficial things to be also just getting to serve alongside other folks who came from across the country, from the communities that I served in, and really just getting to serve on a diverse team of people. I found to be something just immensely beneficial as I've gone into my career and getting that experience of really working with a variety of different people. In terms of ways that you can find opportunities, our platform you can go to is serviceyear.org. We have a bunch of different content you can learn about just to learn some of the nuts and bolts of what a service year is. If you sign up with an account on our platform, the first thing we'll also ask you to do is just to fill out some different preferences for things you might be interested in. You can put in your education level, areas that you're open to doing a year of service. And our platform will automatically suggest some different opportunities that could be a good fit for you to check out and apply for. So beyond that, only other quick thing I'll say is you can register at serviceyear.org, get started. Our team, like myself, is mostly made up of people who have done a service year as well. So if you have any questions as you're getting started, you can ask that to us. And as you apply for actual opportunities, you'll also have the option to reach out directly to any of the organizations that you're interested in serving at.
Okay, thank you so much for sharing. That was a great presentation. Marcus, if you are ready to present next.
Hello, everyone. So I'm going to talk to everyone about City Year. So City Year is an education nonprofit. We are currently located in 29 locations nationally, and we work in schools as tutors, mentors, and role models. We'd like to emphasize the role of tutor, mentor, and role model. No, we're not teachers. No, we're not teachers' assistants. This role is for anyone that knows they want to work with students. Maybe they want to work in a nonprofit sector. Maybe you're thinking about being a teacher and maybe you don't know if that's what you want to do. A gap year like City Year will kind of help you by that time. I often tell students, it's like an opportunity where you know what, because we're being recorded on Zoom, I'm not going to say that, but if I have side conversation with students, I'll talk to y'all differently about the opportunity. But the thing that's cool about City Year, we have a motto which we call ABC, which is attendance, behavior, course performance. That's really important for us inside our schools. We serve students in between the 3rd through 9th grade. We increase graduation rates, we lower dropout rates. I remember when I was a student in school, I didn't have a recruiter like myself talk to me about my future. I think if I would have had a recent Cornell alum speak to me about some things that I would do in my future, I think I would have made different decisions. That's why it's beautiful to have a program like City Year, because the people that serve our students, you have to be between the ages of 17 and 25 and have at least a high school diploma or a GED. So often we find students speak to individuals that may appear younger. They just come share things out of nowhere that we don't know they're gonna say to us. We're like, oh my goodness, why is this student saying this to me? But we still have to make students formalize and generalize a response that makes sense, that's safe, and just tell them how to treat other folks. As far as our process and application process, we're working on a team of about 8 to 15 individuals. The application process, our next deadline we're approaching is May 29th. This is a opportunity. We accept all majors. We specialize in tutoring in subjects of English and math, but we don't just keep it there. As far as the process goes, because we're transitioning, COVID is also something we're experiencing right now too. And we also just want to mention that we are rolling with the times of COVID. We are transitioning to a more of a virtual world to be able to support our students as we go through this pandemic together. We start generally in August. That's usually when our program year starts. I'm gonna get ready to share your screen in a second to be able to just show you the benefits of our programs. But it is a paid opportunity. You get paid every 2 weeks. Also, when you're in our program, your loans are deferred as a student. So you don't have to worry about paying any interest or any interest accrued. You're paid every 2 weeks. We call it a modest living stipend, but majority of our members are able to make a living as an Americorps member. You get a transportation allowance as well with this. You also get health benefits with this. So a lot of students, when you do like a gap year program, you get scared about, how am I going to take care of myself? I'm going to be able to pay for this. I'm going to be able to serve students and myself at the same time. Like, this is not a lot of money, but usually we call it a modest living stipend, but a part of the Americorps network, they kind of want us to be able to operate like our populations we serve, so we know how to serve them. So that's extremely important of why we do this work. As far as postgraduate partnerships, once you become a City Year alum, we're partnered with a lot of campuses and universities nationally that are able to give you some type of tuition reimbursement at our locations. So if you're accepted at one of our partnering locations, I'm on my list right now. I'm gonna look at it by program. So just being like a City Year partner, we have partnerships with a lot of campuses. I'm scrolling through this list. I'll go through a school in a second, but if you want to continue your education as far as grad school is concerned, we partner with areas of education, business, nonprofit management, law, medicine, public health, psychology, counseling, policy, social work, and there's other online programs. So for example, I'm going to give you a far-fetched school. They only take 2 alums per year at Louisiana State University. By being an alum of City Year University, City Year at Louisiana State, you'll be able to get accepted to their school. And if you're accepted, they offer 100% tuition scholarship by being an alum of City Year. So that's free grad school by being an alum. So that should also be able to kind of change like how you're planning some of your future education. Just by being an alum of City Year, you might be able to find a different career path that you can navigate to be like, I'm a sociology major and I see this school is giving me 33% off back. So this might be a better situation to plan your future education. As far as the application process, I'm the recruiter. My next deadline is May 29th. As far as filling out the application, you have to fill out a short answer, why you want to serve as City Year, how it can help you in your future goals and your future education. You'll also need a reference, not a family member, not like a colleague, but someone that's like your supervisor, a manager, someone that can attest to your skills. I'm gonna stop there, but that is just most of the information that I want to share as far as City Year. I don't know if there's any benefits that I want to share on this page because I want to keep it moving through this presentation, but I'll stop there and keep it moving along. So thank you.
Okay, thank you so much for sharing. That was very informative. And that's great. Okay, so Josh, when you're ready, you can talk about your experience.
Hello, everyone. It's great to be here with all of you and the Public Service Center. My name is Josh Goldstein. My pronouns are he, him, his. To start off, as a bit of background, I graduated from the ILR school in 2017, then did the Coro Fellowship in Public Affairs in the year after I graduated, which I'll share the link to after I speak. And I spent the last 2 years as a counselor with a homeless outreach team in the Bronx, social services organization called BronxWorks. And lastly, I'm going to law school starting in the fall to be a public interest lawyer, which is 3.5 years after I graduated from ILR. So I've had the opportunity to speak with many upperclassmen over the past few weeks. And one thing that's clear is that students, you guys are worried about your next professional steps. And I'm glad that Emily, Jonas, and Marcus are here to speak more directly to those opportunities that are accepting applications, because the fellowship that I did is no longer accepting applications at the moment for fall 2020. So I hope that I can best answer questions on what a gap year can do for you and your career, why I would recommend it to basically everyone, especially those who aren't exactly sure, what they want to do with their career. So to start, I'll briefly talk about the fellowship I did. As I'm sure, there are those of you that are juniors or people who would want to apply for the start of fall of 2021. So the Coro Fellowship in Public Affairs, it's a 9-month fellowship where you have the opportunity to work across the private, public, nonprofit sectors in rotations, in 5 to 6 week rotations, with the goal of kind of understanding how policy, is created, who it's meant to serve, who influences it. You get the opportunity to see that through a variety of sectors. I worked in Department of Small Business Services, New York City government. I worked at IBM. I worked at a homeless services nonprofit. I worked at a Open Society Foundations of Philanthropy. It really gave me a holistic experience. And I highly recommend for people who are interested in government, public interest work, to apply to this program. And I'm happy to answer people's questions either offline, I can give my email, or during the Q&A. But I'd like to focus, the rest of my time talking a little bit more about what a gap year can do for you. So I'm curious to see how many of you are, going to grad school afterwards. But to me, it's actually important not to think of these fellowships that we're talking about as simply a gap between undergrad and graduate school, but rather a true opportunity to grow personally and figure out more specifically what you want to do professionally in the future. Especially for those going into a public service career, fellowships and internships have their perks. First off, many employers, want to see professional experience before they give you a job. For example, like in my current work as a counselor on a homeless outreach team, I wouldn't have gotten the job if I didn't have in my fellowship experience, work in a shelter for single men, that they saw that, I had experience doing this work and they felt comfortable giving me the job. Also, and all three of the panelists have already touched on this, there's a personal development aspect of fellowships that you don't necessarily get in the classroom or in a typical office. For example, during the Coro fellowship, we had, sessions that might sound very broad and vague, about learning how to communicate and process information, how to check your assumptions, your implicit biases, and even how to just listen more effectively by finding out what people's values are and talking directly to those values and concerns. And these like personal development, skills that I've learned, through the fellowship, I use literally on a day-to-day, way on my job today. Before my time is up, and again, I'm looking forward to answering questions during the Q&A, I just want to say, be gentle with yourself during this process. It's natural to have stress due to the various pressures, economic, familial, social, you may have, during this chaotic world we're living in right now. But remember, look at all the other participants here, and that's just in, Cornell Public Service Center. You're not in this boat alone. Even when there isn't an unprecedented health and economic crisis, it still takes people months to land jobs. So keep trucking along, take many deep breaths, vent to your family and friends, and remember, you miss all the shots you don't take, and, it will all end up, where it's supposed to end up. So best of luck, and I'm happy to answer the rest of your questions during the Q&A.
Okay, thank you so much, all of you, for your presentations. They were amazing. We're going to switch to the question and answer portion. We'll try to answer as many questions as we can in our allotted time, and we'll see how many we can answer. So thank you. So I'm going to pass it over to Gabriella for the Q&A portion.
Okay, so the first question is from Dristy, and I think she was referring to a question for Emily. Can you describe the daily routine of the program, and what does an average day look like for a fellow?
Yeah, absolutely. So there isn't actually an average day, because we have, so the Mass Promise Fellowship, MPF, is the Americorps program. And then our fellows are stationed at 40 host sites around like Eastern Massachusetts. So some of the fellows are in middle schools or in high schools, and they follow that very kind of scheduled routine. And some of our fellows are working at nonprofits or government agencies that are operating in that out of school time session. So their schedule might be a little more lax. They might start around like 11 or noon in the morning, and then they have later days because they're working with their youth after they get out of school. So it's really hard to answer any kind of like daily routine. And there can be basically any component, I would say, that involves the admin of logistics and operations of preparing what is your programming going to look like for the day, checking in with your colleagues and your supervisor about needs for whatever your host site has for the overarching programs for that week, and then specifically what is your youth engagement time look like throughout the course of that. So I could give more specific answers if you asked me about our specific host sites, but again, there's 40 of them, so it is really no fellow has the exact same day. So if you're looking for something for a very unique and specifically tailored experience, that could be great for you. If you're someone who wants to know immediately, like a very regimented every single day what that's going to look like, that might be like a little bit of a challenge for you, I would think.
Thanks, Emily. The next question is, how do you balance doing a service year with having to pay off student loans? And I think anyone can answer that.
I take a start at it. Usually when you're in the service year, or a lot of these programs right here, when you serve with us, your student loans are deferred. So you shouldn't have to worry about paying them, but you have to put them in deferment and just fill out the paperwork and treat these programs like being in college still, and your student loans will start 6 months after your employment. I hope I answered that correctly. Someone please chime in if they want to help.
No, I think that is right. I mean, obviously you want to check your specific loan because sometimes it can be different if you have federal versus private ones for that. But it's a lot of programs are helpful at offering guidance. Other thing I would add is if you're doing a program that's associated with Americorps, you also get an education award as part of your service year. So at the end of it, I forget the exact value. I think it's a little bit over 6,000 right now that you get. And basically that's something that you can use to either pay for additional schooling, or it's something that you can use to help pay back loans that you currently have.
Okay. What are some qualities that you look for in your applicants, for anyone?
Be willing to work with students, committed to social justice, knowing how to work with individuals from different backgrounds, knowing how to work in high need areas. Those are some of the things that we look for with our applicants.
I think we also look for people who are like strong communicators. And I'm not talking about like you need to be able to write like a really good paper, or you need to even be a public speaker. I think it's really important in knowing how to communicate within the dynamic of an interpersonal relationship. So that means like asking for help if there's something that you don't understand how to do, or asking questions to get more information from your youth when you're trying to figure out how to support them. So kind of like really being confident in your ability to be a communicator, even if it's something that it's a skill you have to practice, you have to definitely flex that muscle. But I think that's really important. And then just be willing to be adaptable. The nonprofit sector is, I think, always challenging and changing for lots of different reasons, from like budgeting to staffing. And then you add this whole COVID-19 and that's a whole different animal. So I think being adaptable would be something else that's really important, on top of, working with youth, being focused on social justice, understanding your power as an adult, working with young people and how that might impact the dynamic of that relationship as well.
Okay. What are the goals for the Promise Fellowship and City Year for each fellow? What do they hope that the fellows will take away from this experience?
Do you want to go first, Marcus?
I might as well, but from City Year's experience, we just hope that individuals will continue to work in the social justice realm, being able to make sure they're working with students or just serving people in the nonprofit sector. I'll leave it at that, Emily. I think you're going to take it away better than I.
I think like for this question, my role specifically as a program manager, I focus on the professional development of our members and sort of arming them with the skills to succeed in their year of service and also be successful beyond service when they decide to take whatever their professional or career path is. So I think for me personally, when I work with our fellows, the goal is to help them challenge themselves in whatever way is going to be meaningful to them. So me saying, I want you to be a great public speaker isn't really going to challenge you if you're already really good and confident in public speaking. So it's really important to me to build relationships with the fellows to learn what is going to be helpful for them, because it's like, if you're great at public speaking and you don't need that help, but you're terrible at time management or, you know, budgeting or like something else that's connected to, you know, the work that you're going to be doing in service, that's what I really want to be focusing on. And then helping y'all be confident, not y'all, them being confident in their ability to go out and be a professional in this world. Because I think particularly this age range of like being like a young adult, you know, so from 18 to probably 30 is this really, I think, challenging space where older people in the work industry tell us that like we don't know what we're doing and we need to sit back and learn, but no one is willing to really teach us how to be successful. So I think it's really, really important to me to help fellows feel that they have the skills and the confidence to go out and be amazing contributors to whatever work field that they choose. So right now our sort of like life after MPF training sessions that we're doing is things like resume and cover letter building, and how do you do an interview, how do you negotiate a salary, how do you communicate your skills to an employer. So I think for me specifically in my role, like that's what's really important to me in working with these fellows. It's making sure that they give so much to our program for this like year of service that I want to make sure that we give enough back to help them succeed moving forward.
Thanks, Emily. I'm going to skip ahead. Are there any gap year programs specific to people who are interested in tech or have tech/computer science background?
That's a great question. I would say from at least my knowledge on that, transparently, there's not a lot currently, but it is definitely a growing field. And I would say service generally continues to look at where needs need to be addressed in communities and where it can be helpful to help people develop skill sets. I know in that area right now, there's one program in Minnesota I know of, Community Technology Empowerment Project, that could be worth checking out, that does stuff in that area. Other thing I would say more broadly is that there's a lot of service year opportunities that exist to help organizations do capacity building. That includes a lot of opportunities offered through Americorps Vista, which is a nationwide project that was created back under LBJ in the 60s. All of those programs are linked by doing efforts to help alleviate poverty in different ways. So the exact service you might do can vary pretty widely between those. But whether it's through that or elsewhere, there are definitely options where you can serve at nonprofits and help expand their capacity in different ways. And I would imagine there's some that involve technology to varying degrees where that could be a beneficial skill to bring in.
While I didn't do this fellowship myself, I have a friend that did Venture for America, which has its fellows, going into startups across the nation. And I can imagine that there are a lot of opportunities, at startups that are very focused on capacity building as well as technology. So I'd definitely say take a look at Venture for America.
Okay. Joshua, do you think Cornell successfully prepared you to succeed in your gap year program?
That's a great question. When I look at my Cornell experience, it's very, focused on, my work in the Public Service Center, trying to address the whole host of inequities in Tompkins County and Ithaca. And so I think that my overall Cornell experience and learning about workers' rights in ILR definitely helped me for when these policy discussions that were, integral aspect of the Coro fellowship. But I'd say that primarily my time in the Public Service Center, working with these community-based organizations and students who have been, working a long time supporting, communities in Ithaca, Tompkins County primarily, and, learning about their work and trying as best as we could to, listen to them and see, where we could provide support was the most beneficial aspect because it helped ingrain humility and a listen first approach that is critical in any, professional work. You can't come to a solution without understanding the issues at hand. So yeah, I definitely do believe that Cornell, helped me prepare for the fellowship, which really, made me confront, these ways of being head on, but more particular, the unique experiences I had in the Public Service Center.
Thank you. How common are gap years between a junior and senior year of college?
I mean, it's a case by case situation. Just depends on what your career path and how your life is set up. I've seen seniors, I've seen freshmen do it, I've seen sophomores do it, I've seen juniors do it. It just depends on the person and what makes sense for your educational view.
Yeah, I would echo that. I think it varies widely. When I did my own experience with City Year, the team that I served on, I think I did it out of college, but on my team, there was someone out of high school. There was someone who had taken a year off of college, someone who was deferring going to law school after. So really, like, basically just in that 1 year, I would say had examples from all over.
Okay. Are these opportunities open to international students, and what about visa status?
For the Mass Promise Fellowship, you have to be, I actually think it's like just an Americorps guideline in general. You either have to be a U.S. citizen, you have to have a green card and be a like resident alien, or you have to have a like protected refugee status.
Okay. What are the goals for the Promise Fellowship and City Year? Oh, we asked that. Did we ask that? And what do they hope fellows will take away from this experience? We asked that one.
Another thing I can add to that is be ready to relocate. Like our opportunities are national. So a lot of times with City Year, like I'm located in upstate New York. I sit in Niagara Falls. We just opened a site in Buffalo, which is brand new. New York City is our largest site, which gets hard to fill. But we also have sites in the South, we have sites in the Midwest, we have sites in the West. So just be prepared when it comes to service. That service means that you may not be serving in your prospective community, and take that opportunity in that gap year to go outside your community, learn some things. Maybe you can stay in that community or come back to your community with those things.
And I can personally attest to that. So I'm from Florida originally, and I used City Year to move to Boston because I wanted the opportunity to like be really independent, to be away from my family and figure out like how do I navigate the world as an independent person. So it was a really great opportunity for me to get a new community with sort of the core members that I was working with, and also figure out how to navigate Boston and build community there. And also like, go on this new adventure just in my own personal life to be in a new place. And I'm still in Boston, 6 years later, so things must be working out.
Okay. Does Service Year or any program have advisors that students can talk to if they feel overwhelmed by the options available with gap year programs?
So yeah, like for our platform specifically, we have a chat feature you can use on the site. So if you have like general questions that you want to connect with someone about, we can help answer those. We have some limited capacity to talk beyond that. One other thing I'd like really recommend is that as you're kind of searching for opportunities and find ones that might be a good fit, a lot of programs can also help offer resources to help you learn more, help point you in the right direction, potentially connect you to other people who are alums of the program, who I think it's always great to be able to hear from people who have firsthand experience as well.
I think the last question we have is just for Marcus. What is the training process and what does it look like?
So for City Year, we have something that we call BTA, which is Basic Training Academy. It happens the first couple of weeks before interaction with students. So it gives you a chance to learn your team that you work with. We specialize in tutoring English and math. I may be a core member that may not be great at tutoring math. So I'm gonna look for Gabriel and Samantha on my team to give me some more skills with that. So during Basic Training Academy, that's when we are addressing things that may make us uncomfortable, and we use our team and community to feel strong together about it, so we're able to kind of go serve our students together. So that's what it is. Like, use that opportunity to, like, yes, I might be your impact manager and be like, Marcus, I don't really feel comfortable doing this, and we can work together and figure out how we can move through that during our year. So that's what I would say.
Okay, perfect timing. Thank you guys so much for joining us today. I would like to again thank our panelists so much for speaking about their programs and experiences. I thought it was very informative, and I'm very thankful that they could join us. If anyone has any further questions or wants further info on opportunities or the Public Service Center at Cornell, feel free to email us or check out our website at psc.cornell.edu. We will be sending a follow-up email after the session with additional gap year opportunity programs, ways to contact us, and ways to contact our panelists if you would like to reach out to them. So thank you so much. We also have a session tomorrow. We have a webinar from 12 to 12:45, and we'll have panelists come and talk about programs such as Food Corps or Teach for America. So if you would like to join us tomorrow, we will be doing this again. So I would like to say thank you again. The session will also be recorded. So yeah, thank you so much for joining us, and I hope you have a good day.
Bye, everyone.